back in England. So I went to Calais, which is a border. It's where the English Channel is, and they wouldn't let me get in. They said, "No, you still don't have any money. You still can't come in." So I'm sitting on the dock, just looking and kind of wondering what the hell am I going to do next. And it was kind of interesting because I'm looking at the back of this vessel, and it's about 6 o'clock at night, and I'm noticing they must have just got done with a mess, and they were kind of emptying the food from the galley there.
Right.
And they were dumping it into this huge sock. And what they do is they go out to sea and they open the bottom of the sock. That's why seagulls follow ships. Because they know they're going to dump all that waste. I'm thinking, geez, all that's just food and I'm hungry. So what I did, I just literally, just like in the movies, I walked aboard the vessel, walked into the galley. I says, hey, I'm a stranded student, which I was. I said, any chance of me kind of rubbing some pots and pans or something, maybe, get something to eat? And obviously they said, yeah, okay. So I'm working my ass off because I'm figuring, hey, it's either this or I'm back on the beach again.
Right.
Because the French don't necessarily want to learn how to speak English. So anyway, I'm talking to the steward, and he said, listen, if you want, you can stay with the other mess boy below tonight, and we're going to be here for another day or two. We work it out. So anyway, in the morning, boy, 6 o'clock, I'm up, I'm beating the hell out of those pans and, getting breakfast, and it was great.
Right.
I say, hey, listen, if you want, you can get your seaman's papers. We're going to go to Germany next, and you can board with us and go to Germany and get your seaman's papers, and then you'll be a sailor. I says, I'm going to be doing that. So what I did was we went to Hamburg. And in Hamburg, they went into dry dock, and they were there for like 5 days. And I got I'm a Norwegian merchant seaman. I still have my seaman's papers.
Yeah.
And then they got a load of potash going to North America. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to get home. So we're at sea, and I'm cooking and trying to figure out how to cook anyway. And the whole deal was going down. Finally got to Windsor, Nova Scotia. Windsor, Nova Scotia has the world's highest tide fall. It drops 47 feet in 6 hours. It's almost like a Russian river.
Is that right?
Rushing river. Yeah. It absolutely is amazing. Anyway, they had to sit out in the bay or out in the sound there until the tide rose, because what happens, the ship comes in at high tide, and then when the tide goes out, the vessel literally settles down on these vertical pilings, which is literally out of the water. Mm-hmm. So anyway, me and this other kid from, go ahead.
That's not important. Telemarketer. Okay, keep going.
There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, we embarked. In fact, the customs agent was really impressed with us. So we had dinner with the guy, the customs agent, and then what we did was, now it's like between Thanksgiving and it's between Halloween and Thanksgiving, and it was cold. We were northeastern Canada, and it was cold up near Halifax. So anyway, what we did was we started hitchhiking freight trains, because you could get on a freight train, like they had diesel engines, and then...
So you left the ships at Thanksgiving and moved on,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. They paid me 495 krona, which is about $95.
Yeah.
And I remember before I left, there were a pair of these good-looking Italian boots in New York City, in Greenwich Village. Mm-hmm. So I was going to hitchhike back down to Greenwich Village to buy these shoes.
Greenwich is still the elite families over there. It's still the rich, right? Even back then, right?
Well, no, Greenwich Village was kind of like the hippie area, or actually it wasn't hippies at that time, but that was kind of like the poets and so forth. They hung out in Greenwich Village.
Now, isn't that where the rich folks?
No, not necessarily.
No?
Not Greenwich Village so much. I mean, now all of Manhattan is extremely expensive to hang out in Manhattan. But anyway, what I did was we were hiking these freight trains. We'd go to the roundhouse where you'd find out where the trains were going, and you could hop these freights, and the front engine, you know, some of these diesels, you'll see it just sometimes it's just an engine.
Right.
And there's no windows on it. Well, those engines have catwalk going around the engines inside the car. And they're warm because the engine throws off heat.
Right.
So what we used to do is we would either climb into an alternate A unit, which is the same as the front engine, but it's hanging out, looking out over the back of all the cars. And you could sit up there and you could actually get on the radio and talk to the engineers who were actually driving the train. But one time we got hooked up on this train that didn't have that alternate A unit, so we're in the engine, on the engine car.
Right.
And it was so loud, I took my map and I ripped up some pieces and stuck it in my ears.
Uh-huh.
And the kid I was with didn't. And when we finally got off the train, I'm talking to him. He can't hear nothing, man.
Whoa.
He is literally deaf. I said you should have put that map in your ears. You didn't listen. Now you can't hear. So anyway, I got to Binghamton, New York, and then I went to an airport and hitchhiked an airplane and got some commercial guy that was going into New York City on a little small twin.
Right.
And I got a ride down with him. So yeah, it was kind of fun. So and then I
did you buy your boots?
Yeah, of course. They were $65. And that was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it was late '64.
Where's that shoes now?
Yeah, right.
You don't have it no more.
No, I wore them, and that was that.
That was that.
So anyway, yeah, that took both of those trips took probably a year and a half, and then with that, and then just hanging out back in Pennsylvania, I went back to college.
Good, you finished it off.
And I graduated, and with that, I wound up when I was in college. The last 2 years, I was working in a college television station, and I was a student director and program guy, and I'd run the cameras and do all sorts of things. So anyway, when I got out, I actually had hooked up a job working for an independent television station in Jamestown, New York. And the guy who owned the station, his name was Lowell Bud Paxson. You may have remembered him, you may not. But anyway, let me catch up with the story. So I worked in this television station for about 13 months. And then the station literally went out of business, and Lowell disappeared. About 10 years later, he re-emerged. He's the one that started QVC, the Home Shopping Network.
No kidding.
It was him.
It's still there and up to now.
Yeah. He sold out. He sold out many years ago. In fact, he passed away. But in the meantime, that was the guy that I worked for in the television station. So now it's the middle of winter, and I'm out of a job again. So I figured, well, I do have a teaching degree. But what was interesting is I had 60 hours of education, which is part of teaching college. And what the problem was that this was the time of Vietnam War, so they weren't hiring teachers. A lot of guys were using education and the whole system to stay out of the war. So I couldn't get a job in secondary ed. But in this in the state of New York State, I had enough education credits to be able to go to work as an elementary school teacher, which I did.
So you did that for me?
I had never taught a day, because when you become a teacher, you spend a whole semester as a student teacher.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the student teaching was in a high school. So when I literally...
Like an assistant teacher then, right?
Right. But the thing is, when I wound up becoming a full-fledged teacher, working it was actually 5th grade. In this school, I had never had any experience teaching elementary ed, which is totally different than teaching a specific subject in secondary ed. So anyway, I just kind of stayed a couple of days ahead of the class, and I did that for about a year and a half, and I actually enjoyed it. And what we did all kinds of things. We did all kinds of things. We started the school yearbook. We started a newspaper. We used to go on a field trip once a month. We started an investment corporation. So, and these kids were all 10, 11 years old. So, give you an idea. So, no, it was a lot of fun. But at that point, I really wanted to get back into theater. So, and I was only like 60 miles out of New York City because I taught in Middletown, New York. So anyway, in the summer, I got a job. I worked 2 years in summer stock. 1 year I was working as and also while I was teaching, I also was the director at a junior college for a musical that they put on.
But here you're already 21, 22, right?
No, I'm actually probably 25 or 26 at this point. Because you got to figure, when I was 20, when I was, I think 19 or 20 is when I stopped going to college for 2 years. So that puts me in at 21. When I went back to college,
23,
21, 23. I would think I was 23 or 24 when I graduated from college.
Right.
So I'm spending a year and a half. That's me about close to 25 or 26. So now when I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York to become an actor. And in summer stock, I worked with Richard Kiley at the Warwick Playhouse in Warwick, New York. And also there was another summer camp that I